Rachel McCord, executive producer, host, and creator of the McCord List Today. Welcome back to the McCord List Today. I'm Rachel McCord, sitting down with singer-songwriter Chloé Caroline. Hi!
Hi! Thanks.
This was a long time coming.
Very much so. It had to happen.
I know. You know my husband, Ricky, and so this has just been like a labor of love getting you here in the studio. I'm so excited.
Me too. He said amazing things. He's like, you guys are going to get along. And I was like, I know.
For sure. I love your music. I love what you've been sharing, and it's just really special. You have come so far in that beat-up car.
Yes.
Farther than most people realize. So let's talk a little bit about, like, obviously, music is such a huge part of your life, but it's for a reason. Take me back to being 11.
Yeah. So I've been writing since I was 6. I've always loved music. But when I was 11, I got really, really sick and almost died, lost like 30 pounds in a month. Doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. Anyways, long story short, got pulled out of 6th grade and was super isolated. And, just trying to figure out what was going on with my body, losing my friends because their parents, maybe thought I had an eating disorder. Literally, it was crazy. And so it was a really lonely, scary time kind of during the last year of childhood, really, honestly. And so for me, music became my outlet, and songwriting and poetry, and it was my way to process what I was going through and to have something to hold on to hope to, in a way, like when I heard music that inspired me. And eventually I started posting it on Facebook when I got a Facebook page, and that's kind of how I connected with other people.
Wow, that's so beautiful. It's interesting because I think for me, as a little girl, I used to struggle with depression, and music was such an escape for me. So on the receiving end of it, I see what a gift it is.
Definitely.
And so you came to Hollywood with this dream and this passion, and have been on the journey of the ups and downs. Can you talk a little bit about your journey as a musician?
Yeah, so I was born and raised actually in Los Angeles, a little beach town, Manhattan Beach. So not necessarily Hollywood, but I was close enough to see what could be if I kept going. And when I was 18, I moved to Nashville. Went to college, studied at Belmont University, learned everything I could about the music business, interned at record labels, watched other artists rise to fame while I was writing and trying to get my hands in on anything that I could. And so I was really always trying to build something globally and something that had legs to it. I never wanted to just limit myself, I guess. And I felt like, okay, well, what are some different ways to do this? One of them was, getting involved in film and TV and writing for soundtracks. I loved that world, working with brands and collaborating. And so I started that really, really young and started building my fan base, literally one person at a time.
Wow. And I love how you've had such a beautiful, multifaceted career, of course, in that Hallmark movie.
Yes,
so talk a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so this was towards the end of my Nashville journey. And I don't want to say end because I do go back and forth, but ultimately I was called back to come to LA, and I'd gotten an audition request, and they'd asked my manager, does she act? And he was like, yeah, sure. Guess so. And so I ended up doing the audition, and they were like, well, she's perfect for it. Does she want to, have songs in the movie? And so I ended up doing all the soundtrack and performing in it. And that was crazy because I never thought that I'd be an actress. I knew there was kids that wanted to do that so badly. And for me, it was music came very, very naturally. I had a really bad experience. I remember in a church play where the director was just so mean, and I was kind of humiliated. And so I didn't know if it was for me. And so it really was a stepping outside of my comfort zone moment. And I was very lucky to have, Kelly Rutherford, Cameron Matheson, Lee Friedlander was the director, and they were all just so encouraging. And they were like, you're naturally great at this. You should, go for it as well. And so anyways, I was on my way back here, and I was like, well, why not? If it elevates my career in another way, then great. But yeah.
I love that. And how cool. What was it like working alongside Kelly? That must have been so much fun.
It was very cool. She was very down to earth. I mean, from day one, we were like sitting in the makeup chair, and she's like, "Here's my number, like message me," and that was so cool because I honestly I hadn't watched much Gossip Girl, but I had friends that were obsessed with it, so of course like I knew who she was, and just to meet somebody that had that level of success and was still just like, "Hey girl," like who's never acted in her life, "Here's my number." So it was cool.
Sweet. Yeah. And I'm sure during that season of your career, you were in such a unique season, and it was coming up on the pandemic.
Yeah, that was
You were
crazy.
probably in the zone trying to hold it all together. So can you talk about kind of pre-Chloe?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like I had said, I'd been in Nashville, and at this point, like I was maybe like a year or so out of school and trying to again do everything in my career, and it was all going well, but I was just so exhausted. It was like just so draining, and I felt like I was trying to control every part of my career for fear if I just focused on one or two things more than the others, everything would fall apart. And eventually I had this producer who was like, "You're not ready for the next level of your career." And I was like, "That's interesting." And of course your ego's like, "What?"
Ouch.
And yeah, but at the same time, I talked to my other friend about it, and he was like, "You know what? No one can tell you you're not ready. Only you can decide that." And I was like, well, that's true. Also, though, I do see where I'm holding myself back. And I don't even think that's what this producer had in mind when he was saying that. But I was like, you know what? I've wanted to go back to LA for a long time. I've wanted to, make some changes in my life, even personally. And so I finally made the leap. I was like, am I blowing it because I've been here now for a number of years? Things are going well. Is this going to be a terrible decision and everything that's going well for me is going to fall apart? And I ended up moving back here and ended up breaking up with my boyfriend of 5 years.
Wow.
Which is crazy too. So things were falling apart, but for the best, because it ended up leading me to COVID time, where I really spent that year or so like writing, trying to figure out like what is it that I really want in my career, what is it that I want to write about, what stories do I want to tell, and what is aligned with me truly. And yeah, so I'm really grateful for that.
That's beautiful. I do think it's such a labor of the heart to be able to go within. Writing is not limited for the people who do it professionally.
Right.
It should be done by all of us. It's the most beautiful way to express, because I mean, you get in the car and you're suddenly hit by people, hopefully not hit by people, but I mean like, you're hit with the deal, right?
Sure.
Like people cutting you off, and just the stress and the pressure. This morning, actually, I was rushing to get to the studio, and I just literally started doing my praise music routine because I was like, no. I'm going to be where my feet are. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And what came to me when I was driving was I was like, who knows who needs to hear the songs that are billowing out of my cracked windows? And had I been on time, the time I wanted to be, where I thought I needed to be, I would have missed it. And guess what? I made it to my appointment on time. Everything was fine. But I think that so much of our lives we carry so much weight and so much stress, and you've learned how to hold that and also surrender it. So let's talk about how you do that.
Definitely. So like I said, it was like a pivotal time because the world had shut down, obviously, and so I really was forced to be still, which is somebody who, one, has ADD, two, is just very creative and has a lot of goals. Like, I got to a point where I didn't even feel like it was important for me to write if it wasn't with somebody else. And that was really sad because I started writing like in my bedroom alone, and that was my safe space. And so like I really decided, okay, you know what? I need to find the things that bring me joy and really define what those are. And that was the key to everything, honestly. To my music, to finding the love of my life, to manifesting and getting these other opportunities. It was really targeting what those things were, from, oh my gosh, I love to go on a daily walk. Like that is for me, like that is where I ground myself. So doing that and making sure that I am putting the time into loving me and treating myself like the one, really. And that kind of helped me to like trust myself, like, because that's the thing too, is like we ignore so many of those signs of what we need. And when you begin to really define what those are and follow through on them, it becomes a lot easier to trust yourself and trust the unknown.
I love that. Okay, last question. With the McCord List, we produce and distribute so many different shows for so many people. And one common feeling that a lot of them feel is that fear of when it goes out. It's one thing writing in your bedroom, it's in recording.
Yeah.
It's another thing when the album drops, the song drops. So how do you navigate that every time? You're doing it all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like this weird like dopamine thing where it's like, it's out, okay. But it's like, no, that's where the work really begins. And I think especially like as an artist, if we're writing songs all the time that we're psyched on that don't get released for like 5 years. I mean, literally the next song I'm releasing, it's 5 years old, but nobody knows that. But it's like by the time it comes out and you film the music video and whatnot, it's definitely an interesting journey. It can be a little overwhelming and paralyzing at times, I'm not gonna lie, but I think for me, I try to focus on why am I doing this, you know? And even when it feels like it's not going to matter. Like literally yesterday I had posted something that was just like, hey guys, you know, this is for anybody who is feeling lost right now, just into my DMs. And somebody actually like had texted me and they were like, you have no idea how much I needed that and to hear this song. And so I think even if it affects like one person, that's what kind of keeps me going. And so, yeah, that's what makes it worth putting it out, even though you could be like, well, I don't have enough money for the marketing, or I don't have enough this or that, or no one's going to listen. Somebody is.
Oh, I love you. I started my whole brand trying to reach that one. I love you. Thank you for coming in, Chloé.
Thank you so much for having me.